you're going to start doing something in your life and you're going to start getting noticed. You know, when we launched Pod Pro Max, one of the things that we say all the time is I use podcasting to get you access to places you should be, but you can't get into. And that creates curiosity. It makes you wonder, okay, what do I need to know about podcasting? How can this be a tool for me? So start working on your elevator pitch, because there's going to be a moment where somebody's going to ask you, and you have to be ready to say that in a short amount of time span where it makes sense. And today I want to talk about what are the 3 things you need to do once you start getting noticed in your craft and in your space and in your field. You ready? Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Shawn Anthony. Listen, fam, I'm excited because you're rocking with the show, but most importantly, this could be your first time ever clicking that button. So let me tell you about what we do. Each and every single week, we continue to inspire you by bringing you a guest or perhaps the answer to the question we've all asked ourselves at some point, and that's school's over. Now what? What do we do? How do we navigate? And because of you, this show has blown up. We've brought you guests from Ed Milet to Matthew Knowles to Seth Godin and many, many more. And today I'm back with a solo episode because I want to give you a life update on what is happening. First and foremost, I want to hugely thank so many people at iHeartRadio. Last week, I sat down with Angela Yee and did an interview all about Pod Pro Max on her platform, Way Up, with Stacey Tisdale. And I got to say, shout out to my son, Nolan Ray, because one thing about Nolan is going to be sure that I shout him out on this podcast. So, son, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, shout out to Halen, shout out to my other kids as well, Bryce and Emron. Happy family of 4. Shout out to Chastity too. I might as well just shout out the whole entire squad. All right, let's get into it. We're going to really break this down. And fam, when I say break this down, I got my notes. I got all the game I'm going to give you right now on how to prepare for these bigger opportunities. I'm going to give you the 3 things that you need to do right now, especially if this starts to happening to you, or perhaps this hasn't happened yet and you want it to happen. You want people to know about your business. You want people to know that you exist. You want more sales. You want to be on different media platforms, or perhaps you just want to provide and make the most impact you possibly can. This is the episode for you. So I'll break it down. Number 1 is that you have to start building your personal brand. So you're probably saying, look, Shawn, what does it look like to really build my personal brand? I want you to start defining what your value proposition is. I want you to identify what really sets you apart from everyone else in this space. Maybe you're entering a new industry and your background is something that is so unique, it makes sense on why you're entering this industry. This is a quick key way on how you can start defining your unique value proposition. I want you to craft clear and compelling messages. And sometimes when you do that, you have to dive into the stories on how you got to where you are today. The second thing I want you to think about is content creation. And when it comes to content creation, you can do this in many different ways in terms of building your personal brand. There's a lot of people who say you need to post 3 or 4 times a day. Fam, I'm not a fan of that. You're going to burn yourself out. But I do believe you have to start posting a quantity size of at least 15 to 20 posts to start getting enough analytics and data to understand what's really moving the dial. And then you can start creating content like the most popular 3 posts out of that, that number of 15 to 20. You can start creating content that is exactly like those 3 top posts that got the engagement that you're looking for, especially when you're talking about building your brand. Remember, right now we're currently talking about building your brand. And the third way in terms of building your brand, and to do this, you have to start to engage your audience. So many times I've seen people post and they don't even respond back. Are you even commenting back? Are you even going to other pages in these different niches and in these different groups and leaving a comment? Are you letting the audience that you want to captivate and hopefully are you letting them know you exist? And fam, that is a quick way on how to do this. So that's why building your brand is so important. It's the first part of this segment, because the second segment part I want to take you to is the networking and relationship building. I've had the ability to network with some of the biggest and some of the best, from Arlen Hamilton to Matthew Knowles to Chrisette Michelle to Miss Skittles to Dr. Daniel Jerry Harmon, all from a level of clientele. But I've also had the ability to utilize his podcast to meet new faces and talk to new people in industries that I was just curious about, that has allowed for me to build up my network. So let's talk about what does that look like in terms of networking and relationship building, especially as you become an authority in your space. So let's dive into this. The first thing you need to do here is you have to start attending industry events. Like, you just got to start going there. Like, you want to be the best podcaster in the world. You should have been at the podcast summit in Atlanta that happened recently last month, and you should have been there. You should have been the first person to buy a ticket and to show up and be surrounded by people in your space. If you want to be the best speaker, you should have been at all of the speaker groups and all the speaker bureaus and all those events to meet the coordinators, the people who are actually paying the speakers to speak. So that's so important. The second thing I want you to think about is leveraging social media. How are you really leveraging social media? Are you sharing your insights? Are you just up there scrolling? Are you constantly thinking about, okay, how can I build genuine relationships? One of the things that I do, there's a reminder that goes off on my phone every single day at 11:15 a.m. and it's called the 15-minute connect. I am purposely connecting with a couple people in this 15-minute connect in the form of 15 minutes, spending the time seeing what's happening in their world, because I want to continue to build and nurture those relationships. And are you doing that? This could be something that you could start applying today to your business. And the third thing in terms of networking and relationship building is that you have to offer value first. So many people are takers. You can also see takers before they even take from you. They're asking you, can I do this? Or, can I get that? Or can I get this person's number? Or can I do that? And they haven't poured into you. They haven't given you any value. So I want you to start offering first. This is how you really, really build relationships, whether it's sharing a useful resource or offering a solution to a problem. You might just be the person that knows that answer. A simple ear as someone that's just listening to them could be very beneficial in terms of networking. So let's move forward to the third segment of this podcast. If you're really going to do this the right way as you begin to build this authority, and that is preparing for bigger opportunities. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about what does that actually look like. You have to be a continuous learner. You have to be a continuous student. Are you taking the time out in your week to study the field, to understand what you may have known yesterday has completely changed? With AI tools being introduced, there are some people who are so scared about them losing their job. And there has been people who have lost their job because of those AI tools. But there's been a unique amount of people who've made a large amount of money by utilizing these AI tools to get better at what they're doing, but also be very time effective. And you have to ask yourself right now, are you utilizing all the resources by being a student and continuously learning and developing? The second thing I want you to really think about as you are finally preparing for these bigger opportunities is you have to polish your elevator pitch. You're not going to have a long time in front of people. So what are the things, or what's the one sentence that you can say that will make ears perk up when you go into a room? When we launched Pod Pro Max, one of the things that we say all the time is, I use podcasting to get you access to places you should be, but you can't get into. And that creates curiosity. It makes you wonder, okay, what do I need to know about podcasting? How can this be a tool for me? So start working on your elevator pitch, because there's going to be a moment when somebody's going to ask you, and you have to be ready to say that in a short amount of time span where it makes sense. The third thing I want you to think about is build a strong support system. As you grow, things are going to start happening. People are going to start changing up. You'll have people reach out to you from your home zone, or wherever area you come from. They're going to reach out to you. You haven't heard from them in years. They can completely throw you off. They will absolutely tell you about all the things they have going on, but you got to build a strong enough support system to sniff out the BS, to realize who are the players you need to have a part of what you're doing, because that strong support system is also going to be able to help pick you up in case you were to fall down, or help you get a bigger understanding of what it is. So whether this is surrounding yourself with mentors, advisors, a supportive network, you got to do that. You have to get in an environment where you can get guidance, where you can get feedback, and you also have the ability to navigate through challenges. I hope you guys have sat back, wrote a bunch of this down, and enjoyed this episode, because I know if you have been listening to this for this long, that there are new opportunities that are coming to you soon. Buckle up and get ready. And for those of you that have been listening, I want you to always remember, dream it, believe it, go out and get it. We'll see you next week.
Yo, what you think? I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I want to know what you learned. So if you wouldn't mind, would you take a screenshot of you listening to the podcast on your phone right now? Upload to your Instagram stories, tag me at Shawn Anthony _, and then let me know in that Instagram story what is one thing that you learned. I love hearing from you, my listeners, thought leaders, former or current students all around the world. Let me know, and while you're doing this, go inside the podcast app, subscribe, leave a 5-star review and a 5-star rating. Again, this helps us reach more people. And if you want to be a part of this mission, helping us change the world one person at a time, it makes a massive difference by you leaving a review. Thanks so much. I'll see you next week. And remember, dream it, believe it, go out and get it.